There is a dangerous mistake that almost everyone makes when dealing with toxic people. They think the battle is happening in the conversation. They think the damage is being done by the words, the insults, the manipulation. But that is not where the real battle takes place. The real battle begins hours later, when you are alone, replaying what they said, questioning yourself, carrying a burden they placed on your shoulders and convinced you was yours to carry. That is how toxic people steal your peace. Not by force, but by making you surrender it willingly. Marcus Aurelius faced traitors, jealous politicians, and people who smiled in front of him while secretly hoping for his downfall. Yet he discovered something that made him untouchable. He realized that toxic people only have power over the version of you that still needs their approval, still fears their judgment, and still reacts to every provocation they throw your way. The moment that version of you disappears, their power disappears with it. Right now, there is probably someone in your life whose name instantly comes to mind. Someone who drains your energy, manipulates your emotions, twists your words, or leaves you feeling exhausted every time you interact with them. You already know who they are, and what you are about to learn may completely change the way you deal with them forever. Because in this video, I am going to reveal 9 clever Stoic strategies that can make toxic people lose their grip on your mind. These are not feel-good quotes or empty motivational phrases. These are powerful mental weapons forged through centuries of Stoic wisdom, designed to help you stay calm, stay in control, and protect your peace no matter who stands in front of you. So stay with me until the end, because the final method is the one most people never discover, and once you understand it, toxic people will never affect you the same way again. Now, let's begin. Here are 9 clever ways to deal with toxic people through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Number 1. See them without the mask. Every toxic person wears a mask. Some hide behind kindness. Some hide behind victimhood. Some hide behind charm so convincing that people mistake manipulation for personality. That is why so many intelligent people get trapped by toxic individuals. They are not defeated by the person's strength. They are deceived by the person's disguise. The first Stoic lesson is simple. Stop listening to what they say and start paying attention to what they repeatedly do. Epictetus taught that people reveal themselves through their actions, not through the stories they tell about themselves. A toxic person may promise loyalty and then betray you. They may claim to care while constantly disrespecting your boundaries. They may speak about honesty while quietly manipulating everyone around them. The moment you stop judging them by their words and start judging them by their patterns, the illusion begins to break. Think about the person who has hurt you the most. How many times did they show you exactly who they were before you finally believed them? Toxic people survive because others keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. They create confusion. They make you question your instincts. They convince you that maybe this time will be different. But the Stoics understood a brutal truth. A snake does not stop being a snake because it occasionally stays still. This is where your power begins to return. The moment you see someone clearly, they lose their ability to control the narrative. Their guilt trips stop working. Their manipulation becomes predictable. Their insults become less personal. Because you finally understand that what they are showing you is not your value. It is their character. And once the mask falls, it can never fully be worn again. So ask yourself one question. Are you seeing this person as they truly are? Or are you seeing the version of them you desperately wish existed? because that single question has saved more people from toxic relationships than 1,000 arguments ever could. Number 2. Build a boundary that cannot be negotiated. The moment you start setting boundaries, toxic people reveal who they really are. Watch closely. The people who genuinely respect you will adjust. The toxic ones will become angry, offended, or suddenly accuse you of changing. Why? Because your boundaries were never the problem. The problem was that they were benefiting from your lack of them. And now, for the first time, the door they used to walk through freely is beginning to close. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet one of the most important battles he fought was the battle to protect his own mind from the chaos of others. He understood something most people learn far too late. If you do not decide where your limits are, someone else will decide them for you. And toxic people will keep pushing those limits until there is nothing left of your peace, your energy, or your self-respect. This is why a Stoic boundary is not a request. It is not a negotiation. It is not something you endlessly explain until everyone approves of it. A real boundary is a decision. It sounds like this: I will not continue this conversation if you speak to me with disrespect. Then comes the part that separates strong people from everyone else. You actually follow through. No arguing, no defending, no emotional speeches, just action. Most toxic people are not testing your words. They are testing your consistency. They want to know whether your boundary is real or whether it will collapse the moment they apply pressure. And every time you bend, they learn that your limits are optional. But every time you calmly stand your ground, they learn something else. They learn that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Remember this: every boundary you build will disappoint the people who were benefiting from your weakness. Let them be disappointed. Their disappointment is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. In many cases, it is proof that you are finally doing something right. Because the day you stop sacrificing your peace to keep toxic people comfortable is the day your life begins to change. Way number 3, become impossible to provoke. Toxic people have a secret addiction. They crave reactions. They want the angry message, the emotional outburst, the defensive explanation, the moment you lose control and hand them the power they were searching for all along. Every insult, every passive-aggressive comment, every attempt to push your buttons is designed for one purpose: to make you react emotionally instead of thinking clearly. The moment you react, they win. The moment you stay calm, they lose their advantage. Epictetus understood this better than almost anyone in history. He taught that no person can disturb your mind without your permission. Think about that. A toxic person can speak, they can criticize, they can mock, they can spread rumors. But they cannot force you to surrender your inner peace. That final decision belongs to you. And the moment you realize this, you become far more dangerous to toxic people than any argument could ever make you. Imagine a man throwing punches into empty air. At first he is confident, then confused, then frustrated. That is exactly what happens when a toxic person fails to get a reaction from you. They expect anger. They find composure. They expect emotional chaos. They find silence. They expect you to defend yourself endlessly. Instead, they discover someone who is completely in control of their emotions. Nothing is more unsettling to a manipulator than a person they cannot emotionally control. The next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this question: why am I being invited into this fight? Most toxic conflicts are traps disguised as conversations. The goal is not understanding. The goal is emotional control. The Stoics knew that the strongest response is often not the clever comeback or the perfect argument. The strongest response is refusing to become the person they are trying to turn you into. And here is the truth that changes everything. Every time you refuse to react, you are training your mind. Every time you stay calm under pressure, you are becoming stronger. While the toxic person grows more frustrated, you grow more disciplined. While they lose control, you gain it. And eventually, something remarkable happens. They stop being your weakness and become proof of your strength. Number 4. Stop carrying what was never yours. One of the most dangerous tricks toxic people use is making you feel responsible for problems you never created. They hurt you, and somehow you end up apologizing. They create drama, and somehow you end up fixing it. They make bad decisions, and somehow you feel guilty for the consequences. This is how toxic people drain your energy. They convince you to carry emotional weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. Epictetus divided life into 2 categories: things you control and things you do not. You control your choices, your actions, your effort, and your response. You do not control another person's attitude, behavior, opinions, or emotional instability. Yet every day millions of people exhaust themselves trying to manage things that were never within their power. They spend years carrying burdens that belong to someone else, wondering why they feel so tired all the time. Think about the toxic person in your life. How often have you sacrificed your peace to protect theirs? How often have you walked on eggshells to avoid upsetting someone who never shows the same consideration for you? How often have you blamed yourself for someone else's anger, jealousy, insecurity, or manipulation? The Stoics would tell you something most people need to hear. Their emotions are their responsibility. Their choices are their responsibility. Their character is their responsibility. Imagine someone trying to hand you a heavy backpack filled with stones. If you refuse to take it, whose burden does it remain? Theirs. Yet emotionally, many people do the exact opposite. They reach out and accept every criticism, every guilt trip, every accusation, every piece of emotional baggage handed to them. Then they wonder why they feel crushed under the weight. Toxic people cannot force you to carry their burden. They can only convince you to volunteer for it. From this day forward, practice one simple sentence whenever a toxic person tries to place their chaos on your shoulders. That belongs to them, not to me. Repeat it until it becomes part of who you are, because the moment you stop carrying what was never yours, something incredible happens. Your mind becomes lighter, your energy returns, your peace grows stronger, and for the first time in a long time, you begin walking through life with your hands free instead of dragging someone else's chains behind you. Way number 5. See the wound, not the weapon. Most people spend their lives asking the wrong question about toxic people. They ask, why are they doing this to me? But the Stoics asked a different question. What pain inside them is creating this behavior? The answer changes everything, because the moment you understand where toxicity comes from, you stop taking it personally, and when you stop taking it personally, you become much harder to hurt. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that he would meet arrogant people, dishonest people, selfish people, and ungrateful people. But he never treated their behavior as a mystery. He understood that cruelty is often the symptom of an inner wound. Think about it. Truly secure people do not spend their time tearing others down. Truly peaceful people do not manipulate, control, or humiliate others. Toxic behavior is often insecurity wearing confidence as a disguise. It is fear pretending to be strength. It is pain looking for a new place to live. The person who constantly criticizes others may secretly be fighting feelings of inadequacy. The person who needs to control everyone around them may be terrified of losing control over their own life. The person who spreads negativity wherever they go may be carrying years of bitterness they never learned how to heal. This does not excuse their behavior. Stoicism never asks you to tolerate abuse. but it does ask you to see reality clearly. And reality is that wounded people often create wounded environments. Imagine being attacked by someone who is drowning. They grab you, pull you down, and create chaos around them. Are they dangerous? Absolutely. But are they acting from strength? No. They are acting from desperation. Toxic people are often the same. Their behavior is harmful, but it usually comes from weakness, confusion, insecurity, or emotional wounds they never learned to overcome. Once you see this, something powerful happens. Their actions stop feeling like proof that something is wrong with you. The next time a toxic person tries to hurt you, pause for a moment and look deeper than the words. Ask yourself, what kind of pain creates a person like this? What kind of fear produces this behavior? What kind of emptiness needs constant conflict to feel powerful? You may not know the exact answer, but you will recognize one thing immediately. Their toxicity says far more about their inner world than it does about your worth. And when you finally understand that, you stop seeing an enemy standing in front of you. You see a wounded person carrying a burden so heavy that they have spent years trying to place it on everyone else. Number 6. Become untouchable by praise and criticism. Most people believe toxic people control them through insults. But the truth is far more dangerous. Toxic people control you through both criticism and praise. One day they attack you, and the next day they flatter you. One moment they make you feel worthless, and the next they make you feel special. Why? Because as long as your emotions depend on their opinion, they still hold the strings. The moment your self-worth rises and falls with their approval, you have handed them control of your peace. The Stoics understood this trap centuries ago. They knew that a person who needs praise becomes just as vulnerable as a person who fears criticism. If someone can make you feel powerful with a compliment, they can also make you feel weak with an insult. That is why true freedom begins when you stop treating other people's opinions as a measure of your value. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he constantly reminded himself that praise and blame are nothing more than sounds coming from other people's mouths. Think about how many decisions people make just to avoid disapproval. They stay silent when they should speak. They tolerate disrespect when they should walk away. They hide their ambitions because they fear judgment. Toxic people know this. They know that fear of criticism can be a prison, and they use that prison to keep others under control. But the Stoics refused to live behind those walls. They understood that the opinions of others change with the weather. If you build your identity on them, your peace will always be unstable. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. One wind tells you that you are amazing, another tells you that you are a failure. If you follow every gust, you will spend your entire life being pulled in different directions. But what happens when you become the mountain instead of the leaf? The winds still blow, the noise still exists, yet nothing moves you. This is the kind of strength toxic people fear most. Not anger, not revenge, independence. From this moment forward, practice a new habit. When someone praises you, accept it without becoming addicted to it. When someone criticizes you, examine it without becoming wounded by it. Let neither praise inflate your ego, nor criticism destroy your confidence. Because the strongest person in the room is not the one everyone admires. It is the one whose peace no longer depends on being admired at all. And once toxic people realize they can no longer control you with approval or punishment, they lose one of their most powerful weapons forever. Way number 7. Rehearse the storm before it arrives. Most people prepare for success. Very few prepare for difficulty. That is why they are caught off guard every time a toxic person attacks, manipulates, or provokes them. The insult comes, and they freeze. The criticism comes, and they spiral. The confrontation comes, and they lose control. But the Stoics trained differently. They understood that the person who has already faced the storm in their mind will never be shocked when it arrives in reality. Seneca practiced a technique that made him psychologically stronger than most people around him. Before difficult situations, he would imagine them happening in advance, not to create fear, but to remove surprise. He knew that shock is often more damaging than the event itself. Toxic people thrive on catching you emotionally unprepared. They want your reaction before your reason has time to speak. But when you have already rehearsed the moment, their attack loses much of its power. Think about the toxic person you're most likely to encounter again. You already know their patterns. You know the criticism they repeat. You know the buttons they try to push. You know the arguments they always return to. So why keep acting surprised? The Stoics would ask a simple question. If you know the storm is coming, why not prepare for it? Spend a few moments imagining the exact situation. Hear the insult, hear the manipulation, hear the provocation. Then picture yourself remaining calm, composed, and completely in control. This may sound simple, but it changes everything. When the moment finally arrives, your mind recognizes it. Instead of panic, there is familiarity. Instead of emotional chaos, there is clarity. You are no longer walking into an ambush. You are stepping into a situation you have already mentally survived, and that confidence alone can completely change the outcome of the interaction. The next time you know you must deal with a toxic person, do not wait until the battle begins. Prepare before it starts. Rehearse your calm, rehearse your composure, rehearse your response, because toxic people are strongest when they catch you unprepared. But the Stoic is never truly caught off guard. The Stoic has already walked through the storm 100 times in the mind before facing it once in reality. And that is why, when the storm finally arrives, they remain standing while everyone else is being swept away. Way number 8. Stop giving your energy to people who have not earned it. There is something toxic people understand better than most. They know that attention is power. That is why they constantly demand it. They create drama to get it. They create conflict to keep it. They create emotional chaos because every minute you spend thinking about them is a minute of your life they have successfully stolen. And the tragedy is that many people hand over their attention so freely that they never realize how much of their energy is being drained until they are completely exhausted. The Stoics treated time as the most valuable possession a human being could ever own. Seneca warned that people protect their money more carefully than they protect their time, even though time is infinitely more valuable. Think about that. A toxic person can waste hours of your day with a single message, a single argument, a single careless comment. Long after the conversation is over, they are still occupying space inside your mind. They are still consuming energy they never earned and never deserved. Now ask yourself a difficult question. If this person were a complete stranger and you met them for the first time today, knowing everything you know now, would you willingly invite them into your life? Would you trust them with your peace, your attention, your emotional energy? For many people, the honest answer is no. The only reason they remain connected is because of history, guilt, obligation, or fear. But the Stoics believed that your energy should be invested where it can create growth, not where it is endlessly consumed without return. Imagine your attention as a limited supply of fuel. Every day you wake up with only so much of it. Every unnecessary argument burns some. Every toxic interaction burns more. Every hour spent overthinking someone else's behavior drains the fuel needed for your goals, your family, your future, and your peace of mind. Toxic people survive because too many people keep refueling them. The moment you stop, something remarkable happens. Their influence begins to shrink. From this day forward, become ruthless about where your energy goes. Give it to people who respect you. Give it to work that matters. Give it to goals that improve your life. Give it to relationships that bring peace instead of chaos. But stop pouring it into bottomless pits that never give anything back. Because one of the most powerful lessons Stoicism teaches is this: your life is built from whatever receives your attention, and if you keep giving your attention to toxic people, they will slowly become the architects of a life they never deserved to control. Way number 9, become someone they can no longer reach. There is a final stage in dealing with toxic people, and almost nobody reaches it. Most people spend years trying to change them. They argue, they explain, they defend themselves. They hope that one day the toxic person will finally understand the damage they caused. But the Stoics discovered a truth that changes everything. Peace does not begin when toxic people change. Peace begins when they no longer have access to the parts of you they used to control. Marcus Aurelius ruled over one of the most powerful empires in history, yet even he could not control the behavior of the people around him. He could not stop betrayal. He could not stop criticism. He could not stop selfishness, jealousy, or cruelty. What he could control was who he became in response to those things. And that is the final lesson. Your victory was never supposed to come from changing toxic people. Your victory comes from becoming someone their toxicity can no longer reach. Imagine a fortress built on top of a mountain. Below it, storms rage, lightning strikes, winds howl. The chaos is real. But the fortress remains untouched because it was built above the storm. This is what Stoicism ultimately teaches. Not how to eliminate toxic people from the world, but how to rise above the emotional chaos they create. When you stop needing their approval, their criticism loses its power. When you stop seeking justice from people committed to misunderstanding you, their manipulation loses its power. When you stop expecting wounded people to give you peace, their behavior loses its power. This is the moment toxic people fear most. Not your anger, not your revenge, not your confrontation. They fear your detachment. They fear the day you stop explaining yourself, the day you stop defending every decision, the day you stop chasing their validation. Because on that day, they lose access to the emotional buttons they spent years learning how to push. And without those buttons, they have nothing left to control. So remember this. The goal was never to win against toxic people. The goal was to outgrow the version of yourself they could manipulate. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them misunderstand. Let them remain exactly who they choose to be. Your responsibility is not to carry their darkness. Your responsibility is to protect your own light. And the moment you truly understand that, something extraordinary happens. Toxic people do not disappear from your life. They simply lose the power to disturb it. And that is the kind of freedom no one can ever take away from you. Before you leave, take a moment and think about the person who came to your mind when this video began. The person who frustrated you, manipulated you, drained your energy, or stole your peace. Now ask yourself a different question. After everything you have learned today, do they still have the same power over you that they had 30 minutes ago? The Stoics spent centuries searching for freedom, and what they discovered was surprisingly simple. Freedom is not controlling other people. Freedom is no longer being controlled by them. It is waking up each morning without carrying someone else's anger. It is protecting your peace without guilt. It is standing firm in your values, even when the world around you is trying to pull you away from them. If these 9 lessons spoke to you, do not let them remain ideas. Apply them, practice them, live them, because knowledge changes nothing until it becomes action. And the next time a toxic person tries to provoke you, manipulate you, or pull you into their chaos, remember this: you are not responsible for their behavior. You are responsible for your response. If you found value in this video, subscribe to the channel and join a community dedicated to wisdom, self-mastery, and the timeless teachings of Stoicism. And tell me in the comments, which of these 9 Stoic strategies hit you the hardest? I read every comment, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, protect your peace, master your mind, and remember, the strongest person is not the one who defeats their enemies. It is the one who no longer allows their enemies to defeat them from within.